Hello guys, welcome back to the quantity surveying workshop and to another video. In today's video, we're going to be treating how to build up the rate for reinforcements per ton. So our bill of quantity extra says we should calculate the cost per ton of what reinforcements bar, because our reinforcement is calculated in what tonnage. So in our consideration, it is stated that we are going to be what estimating for what 12 mm TMT rod, and per ton it will cost what 1,010,000 naira. So 1,010,000 naira is the cost for what 1 ton of what 12 mm TMT rod. So binding wire at what 45,000 naira per row of what 10 kg. So it means that a row is equal to what 10 kg. So unloading and stacking of the reinforcements will be paying the laborer 6,000 naira per day. So we need to know what the output of the unloading and stacking of the laborers will be. So output per day is what 1 ton. So it means that in a day they can be able to unload and stack what 1 ton of what reinforcement. So cutting and bending of the reinforcement per day will be paying the iron benders 10,000 naira. And the output for cutting and bending, it says that they can be able to cut and bend 700 kg of reinforcement per day. Then lastly, fixing. So after cutting and bending, to fix the reinforcement in place, we are going to be paying them also 10,000 naira per day to carry out this work. So we now need to determine what the output for fixing will be per day. So it means that it says that per day the iron benders will be able to what fix 700 kg of what reinforcement every day. So with this, we can now begin to what start our what estimation. So like always, we start with the what materials. So what are the materials needed in this operation? Number 1, the reinforcements, and number 2, the what binding wire. So we're going to be starting with what the reinforcements. So for reinforcement, we know that the cost of 1 ton of 12 mm TNT bar is what 1,010,000 naira. So to now become, you now say cost of 1 ton of 12 mm TNT bar is equal to what 1,010,000 naira. So we'll now add what 5% waste. So 5% of 1,010,000 naira is equal to what 50,500 naira. So when you add the two of them together, we are going to be having what 1,060,500. So this will be the cost per ton for the what reinforcement. So the next thing we're going to be entering into is our what binding wire. So there's a saying that 0.8 kg of binding wire will be able to what bind 100 kg of what reinforcement. So if we say take 0.8 kg of wire to bind 100 kg of rebar. So how many kg of binding wire would we need to what bind 1,000 kg? Remember, it is per ton. Everything we're doing here is per ton. So to convert ton to kg is what 1,000 kg. So we can now say X amount of binding wire would be able to what bind 1,000 kg of what rebar. So if 0.8 kg of wire will be able to bind 100 kg rebar, then how many kg of wire will be able to bind 1 ton of what? Rebar. So when you do the calculation, it will now become what? When you cross multiply. So if you don't understand it, this is what it basically means mathematically. 0.8 kg wire will be able to bind what? 100 kg rebar. Then x kg wire will be equals to, or will be able to bind what? 1000 kg rebar. Find x. So you what? Cross multiply. So after cross multiplying, what are we going to be having? X multiplied by what? 100 will now be equals to what? 0.8 multiplied by what? 1000. Divide both sides by what? 100. Divide both sides by what? 100. This one cancel this. So x will now be equals to what? 0.8 multiplied by 1000 divided by what? 100. 0, 0, 0, 0. So 0.8 multiplied by what? 10 will now become what? 8 kg. So it means that it is going to take 8 kg of binding wire to what? Be able to bind 1 ton of what? Reinforcement, or 1000 kg of what? Reinforcement. So after this, we will now what? Add 10% waste on what? The binding wire. So 10% waste of the binding wire will now become what? 0.8 kg. So when you add the two of them together, we're going to be having what? 8.8 kg. So this is what we're going to be what? Using to what? Bind 1000 kg of what? Reinforcement, in case there is waste on the what? Binding wire. So 8.8 kg is what we're going to be what? Using to what? Bind 1 ton of what? 12 mm reinforcement bar. So after we've gotten how many kg of binding wire we're going to be needing, we can now what? Put a cost on this 8.8 kg of what? Binding wire. So we can now say, if a roll of binding wire, which is 10 kg, remember, a roll of binding wire is equal to what? 10 kg. So if a roll is 45,000 naira, we can also say 10 kg of binding wire is what? 45,000 naira. So we'll now do a simple mathematics here. If 10 kg of binding wire is equal to what? 45,000 naira, then what will 8.8 kg of binding wire be? So we can now say, then 8.8 kg of binding wire will cost x. So when you cross multiply, x will now become what? 8.8 multiplied by what? 45,000 naira divided by what? 10. So when you do the math, you are going to be having what? 39,600 naira. So it means that 8.8 kg of binding wire will cost what? 39,600 naira. So after this, we will now do our what? Summary on the what? Materials. So the first material is our what? Reinforcement bar. And what did we calculate as our price, including the waste? That is 1,060,500. And then our what? Binding wire. We calculated as what? 39,600. So when you add everything together, we're now going to be having what? 1,100,100 naira. So this will be the cost per ton of both our reinforcement bar and our what? Binding wire. So the next thing we're now going to be doing is our what? Labor. So for our labor, the first activity we're going to be catching for is the what? Unloading and stacking of the what? Reinforcement bar. So you know that we are building up our rates per ton, which is per 1000 kg of what? Reinforcement. So in our consideration, they say that our productivity for unloading and stacking this reinforcement bar will be what? 1 ton per day. So it means that it is going to take them just 1 day to what? Unload and stack 1 tons of this what? Reinforcement. I know when you hear ton, you might be thinking that it is a very plenty amount of reinforcement, but 1 ton of 12 reinforcement is just like about 94 lengths of reinforcement. So you see that it is not it's not what you think it is, although it might be heavy, but they are capable. So 1 ton of 12 reinforcement bar is a quantity of 94 lengths of reinforcement. So it means that they are going to be what? Unloading and stacking that 94 lengths in a day. So this is at what? 6,000 naira per day. So take productivity of 1 ton per day. Therefore, if it is 1 ton that we ought to be using, so you can now say time to offload and stack 1 ton. Will now become what? 1 ton, which is the total amount of rebar we need divided by what? The productivity. 1 ton per day, and it will be equal to what? 1 man day. So it means that they are going to be what? Unloading and stacking this 1 ton of reinforcement in a day. So since we know the time it will take them to unload and stack, we can now put cost to it. So the cost of unloading and stacking will now become what? 1 man day multiplied by what? The cost per day, which is 6,000 naira, and that will be cost to what? 6,000 naira to unload and stack 1 ton of what? Reinforcement. After doing this, you will now go to what? The cutting and what? Bending. So for the cutting and bending, in our consideration, they say that in a day they will be able to cut and bend 700 kg of what? Reinforcement in a day. So we can now say take 700 kg per what? Day at what? 10,000 naira as their what? Daily rates. So how many days will it take them to what? Cut and bend 1 ton of reinforcement? You can now say 1 ton will become what? 1,000 kg divided by what? Their productivity of what? 700 kg. So if 1 day, if they can be able to cut and bend 700 kg in 1 day, how many days will it take them to bend 1,000 kg? So 1,000 divided by 700 will give me what? 1.43 man day. So since we have 1.43 as the day it will take them to what? Cut and bend 1,000 kg of reinforcement, we can now attribute cost to it. So the cost of cutting and bending the cost of cutting and bending will now become what? 1.43 multiplied by what? Their cost per day, which is 10,000 naira, and that will become what? 14,300 naira per ton. So it means that you're going to be paying them 14,300 naira in order to what? Cut and bend 1 ton of what? Reinforcement. So the next thing you're not going to be catching for is the what? Fixing. In our constitution, they say that the laborers are going to be fixing 700 kg of reinforcement in a day. So you can now say, take 700 kg of reinforcement per man day at what? 10,000 naira at their daily rate. So how long will it take them to what? Fix 1 ton of reinforcement? So 1 ton, which is 1,000 kg, divided by what? Their productivity, which is 700 kg, will now be equal to what? 1.43 man day. So it means that it will take them 1.43 days to fix 1,000 kg of what? Reinforcement. So we cannot attribute cost to it. So we cannot say, therefore, cost of fixing will now become what? 1.43 multiplied by what? 10,000 naira. And that will be equal to what? 14,300 naira costs per ton. So it means that this is what we're going to be paying them for what? Fixing the what? Reinforcement. So we can now do what? A summary on our labor. So the first thing that we're catching for in our labor is what? The cost for unloading and stacking. And we calculated it as what? 6,000 naira per ton. The next work item will be for the what? Cutting and what? Bending. And we calculated it as what? 14,300 naira per ton. And lastly, the fixing as what? 14,300 naira per ton. So when you add everything together, the total cost for our labor will be what? 34,600 naira per ton. So this is what we are going to be what? Spending for the labor, which will consist of the what? Unloading and stacking, cutting and bending, and what? Fixing of the what? Reinforcements. So since we've done the summary for our labor, we can now do the total summary, which consists of our what? Materials and our what? Labor. So the first thing is our what? Materials. Our materials consisting of our what? Reinforcement bar and our what? Binding wire. We calculated it as what? 1,100,100 naira cost per ton of our materials, and the what? Labor will now become what? 34,600 naira per ton for our what? Labor. When we add the two of them together, what are we going to be having? We're going to be having what? 1,100,000 134,700 naira per ton. So this is what we'll be spending for both our materials and our labor per ton. So after doing this, we will now add 25% profit and overhead. So 25% profit and overhead on this price will now be equals to 283,675 naira. So we can now add them together, and that will be equals to 1,418,375 naira per ton. So this price is the cost per ton of our 12 mm reinforcements. So this is what you are going to be taking to your bill of quantity and be multiplying it by your quantity. So if for example, let me just be practical, this 12 mm reinforcement is what is going to be used for your your column footing, right? And you calculated 0.03 as the quantity, as the total quantity of 12 mm rods that will be used for that column footing. So in your bill of quantity, let's say 0.3 is what will be in your quantity. Then this 1,418,375 naira is what will be in your rates in the bill of quantity. So when you multiply those two together, you're going to be having the amount you'll be spending for that 0.3 tons of 12 mm reinforcement rod. I hope you understand the logic. So we've come to the end of today's video. I hope you derived adequate knowledge from this video. Please, if you did, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel because it helps the channel grow. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video.